afternoon. Welcome to Salvaging the Titanic, episode 6, Rockin' the Boat, Balance.
Are you sure?
Am I sure? Yes, I am sure. So we're going to talk about balance in your marriage. Balance with communication, with needs, with physical needs, emotional needs, all of it. So the goal of marriage is unity and oneness. Different aspects where balance is required. All right. So the first one where balance is required is balancing and communication.
Are you starting without me? Give me a second.
Okay.
Tell him time out. You were supposed to just entertain him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to entertain you. So, yeah. So I'm here. So talking about balance, we're going to talk about balance today once Raquel returns. And everything is about communication. When we talk about anything in these shows, as Salvaging the Titanic, we're talking about speaking to one another and having a good communication line with one another, and talking about each other's needs and wants, and being able to express those needs and wants to one another in a productive and kind manner. It's a mindset you have to get into. And then having those realizations for yourself so that you can be in that mindset and so that you can be a productive member of the conversation. Understanding that is probably going to be one of the more difficult hurdles that anyone is going to go through. I know it was difficult for me, and getting out of your own head and getting out of your own way. I'm hoping that Raquel will be back soon and we can start.
What you doing?
I'm starting the episode. So today we're going to be Salvaging the Titanic, episode 6. We're going to be talking about rocking the boat still. We're going to talk about balance.
The mysterious word called balance. It's hard in yoga, and it's really hard in real life. It's hard in marriage. Right?
Yes.
It takes work. Work.
So the goal of any marriage is unity and oneness, and there's different aspects where balance is required, right? So everything we talk about is always going to start and end with communication with one another and talking to each other and having that open and honest conversation with one another about things. So the first balancing thing we're going to talk about is going to be balancing communication. All right?
You have to listen selflessly. When your partner is talking to you and telling you something that they need, want, feel, that means you have to resist the urge to defend yourself.
Or feel like you're being attacked. A lot of times with conversations...
We literally did this morning, guys.
We literally had this conversation this morning. So...
how'd that conversation go, babe?
So it didn't go as well as I'd hoped. I came
Half my fault.
Obviously, it's both of our faults. It was a misunderstanding on her part and a miscommunication on mine. So I came upstairs and I said, hey, I would like to ask you for 15 minutes of uninterrupted time of your time today. And
you know how I responded? I was like, do I not give you my undivided attention for at least 15 minutes a day? Is that what you're saying?
So it was a misunderstanding on her part and a miscommunication on mine. We're both busy with a lot of things. I started school today.
How should that have gone? Say it again.
Okay. Hey, babe, I would like to have 15 minutes of uninterrupted time with you today.
So you're saying you want 15 minutes at least of my undivided attention today?
Yes.
Is that because you feel I don't give you that?
No, it's because we both have busy schedules. We both have a lot going on. And a lot of times we get lost in our phones or with the kids or with school or with a lot of other things that are in our life that we don't get time to put our phones down, not be near them, not be right beside them, or be looking at them and still talking to each other.
Okay, I get that. I can do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So that's how
it should have gone.
That's how it should have gone. So
instead, I got a little defensive.
She assumed I was attacking her, and she got defensive. I miscommunicated on my part because I should have explained to her. One, I should have made sure that she understood what I was asking for. And two, I should have communicated a little bit better of what I wanted.
So when we talk about things with you guys, we're still working on it too. We're still learning, and that's kind of what fuels us with our topics each week. It's things that we're personally going through, struggle points that we find, and we're like, you know what, we should dive into that a little more. How do we do this better? So that's how we got to the topic of balance for this week. When you're listening to your partner, don't try to fix them. Don't try to fix the situation. Just listen without giving any advice or criticism.
Your intent should be to be understanding. So you should mirror back what you understand. So like she was doing before, when I said, hey, I'm asking for 15 minutes of uninterrupted time with you today. She repeats back, so what you're saying is this, and if there's any misunderstanding, that gives me the opportunity to clarify with questions. She can ask questions, and I can clarify what I want.
The other thing you need to do is you need to recognize when you're not mentally, emotionally, or just time constraint available to properly engage with your spouse about something, which is something that happened yesterday.
Yes.
We don't even have to give that example, but I mean, we're in it still, you know?
Yeah, we're still working things out as well. I think it's important to recognize when you're not available or able to properly engage, because if I'm more understanding, and I'm sure you would be too, if your spouse said, hey, I'm super busy right now, or I'm super doing this, or I'm whatever the case may be, but if you give me 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, or we can set up a time tonight to talk, I'll be able to engage with you, and we'll have that time to discuss your issue or whatever. Obviously, you have the ability to write it down, take a note,
It's always easier to sound like you're concerned than it is to actually be concerned. There is a difference, and it usually shows by your actions. So the other thing that we've been working on balancing is meeting our needs.
Yes.
Our individual needs and our family's needs and other requirements.
Yeah, other people in our lives' needs. But this includes physical and emotional needs.
Today he read something. It says, actually, there's a wide spectrum of choices available to husbands and wives as they attempt to balance their needs and the needs of their spouses. It says, fulfilling my needs to the total exclusion of others is one end of the spectrum.
Fulfilling others' needs to the total exclusion of my own is the other. So you have one side where you do everything for everyone else and don't think about yourself at all. And then there's the other side where you do everything for yourself and think of no one else.
The goal is that you want to acknowledge that you and your spouse both have needs, that they're going to be different. And you have to have an action plan for how those needs are going to be met. If you feel like you're always giving and giving and giving, and you're putting all of your energy and time into everything for your spouse, your family, your friends, your activities, your school, your work, and you are not dedicating any time to yourself, that's unhealthy. Mm-hmm. That's going to lead to some self-destructive patterns. You're not going to make it long-term. You could do it for a short time, but it's not a long-term solution. No.
If you always put yourself last, you're going to rob others of the challenge and the joy of giving, of doing something for you.
And obviously, if you put yourself first all the time, why are you in a relationship? It's just not going to work long-term. Eventually, your selfishness is going to really start to show, and it's going to cause problems. So obviously, I mean, everybody understands you can't just be all about yourself. So then we come to balancing schedules. Our schedules are starting to change.
Yes.
With the new year, he just started school today. He's a college student working on his master's. Mm-hmm. Yay that.
Yay.
But also whoa that, because it's going to take up more of his time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn to balance your personal time. Make sure that you're giving attention to yourself, working out, reading your Bible, praying, whatever it is you believe in. That's fine. Even just self-care stuff like getting your nails done, doing makeup, whatever it is. But then also consider that your spouse needs some time too. So don't take 30 minutes to get ready in the morning and give them 5 before you head out the door. Make sure that it's balanced.
Yeah. And the thing to remember is it's not selfish to prioritize yourself first, because you need to be healthy and happy to step out that door to your spouse, to your family, to your friends, to your work.
You can't give to others with an empty tank.
Yeah, you can't give to others if you're empty. Running on E yourself, you're not going to have anything to give. So personal, spiritual, and physical health for yourself should be your first priority. And then you turn and say, okay, let me look and see if I can give some...
What my spouse needs.
What my spouse needs. And my family
what
needs.
My kids need.
What my kids need.
Other responsibilities.
Then you work in school, and your friendships and community responsibilities obviously come in at the not last spot, but the third.
Bottom tier.
Bottom tier, kind of. Maybe
Sorry,
not complete
guys.
bottom, but, bottom tier.
But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're not neglecting any of them. You have to realize that sometimes you have to say no, but that no is also a complete sentence. You don't have to give a ton of excuses. Just say, not going to make it.
And then resist the urge to feel guilty when you have to say no. Remind yourself that no to one thing means you're saying yes to something that takes priority in your moment, in that moment, or in your life. You might say no to one thing, and another opportunity opens itself up because you said no to one thing.
But also, don't use your no, once you find your power in no, don't use it as an excuse to just be lazy or self-centered, because it's easy. I mean, it's all about balance. In everything, a lot of times we tend to overcorrect. So it's just being mindful of that. Don't overcorrect on this balance thing, guys. If you find yourself on one end of the spectrum, don't go all the way to the other side. Find yourself somewhere in the middle. And then we get to even balancing your sex life. That's a fun topic. I actually dreaded this. We've been talking about this for a good week.
At least a week.
On this topic. But it's supposed to be fun, right? It's the good stuff. You have to recognize that you and your partner probably have different sex drives. There's going to be differences. 9 times out of 10, you have a high desire partner with a low desire partner. You have a responsive
partner and a spontaneous partner. One that spontaneously is ready to have sex at any moment, and one that is more responsive.
Requires some warm up.
And some that are responsive, that respond to foreplay and to you doing the
just
dishes or how the day went, responsive to the world. You gotta talk about that, and you also need to talk about different spoken and unspoken expectations going into it.
We all have expectations, and some of them are your partner knows those expectations, and some of them are just unspoken because you don't even realize them until you suddenly have a problem with it. You have to check your response though when your spouse says no, to make sure that you resist the urge to make them feel guilty,
or
even to feel guilty, because sometimes your spouse will not guilt you at all, and you still feel guilty because you just said no. You just gotta communicate.
It's all about communication. Everything is all about communication. But with that, we invite you to join us next week.
The Sexisode.
Raquel came up with that one.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to go. Yeah, we're going to go into that next week.
We're going to really get into it.
We're going to go deep dive.
We were ready for it this week.
Yeah, we're going to balancing the initial balances, the balances of communication, needs, and schedules. Do that first.
Okay? Because that is all going to lead to the bedroom.
Yep. And we realize that the balancing your sex life needs to be its own episode, so that you can figure out balancing, because we're still figuring out balancing. We're still teetering at times.
I think you're going to be figuring out balancing for the rest of your life, because
there's always going to be
your needs change.
There's always going to be new needs, or there's always going to be new issues that arise, or new problems, or whatever the case may be that you need to balance back out in your life. So
just got to remain flexible. Just spiritually.
Which leads you into the next week's episode, remaining flexible.
So, thanks for watching. This was another quick episode. We're going to try to keep it this way.
Yep.
Appreciate you joining us. See you next week.
See you next week.